Interested in learning about starting a Kickstarter campaign? Then this is the episode for you. Hi, my name is Tonya Duncan Ellis, author of the Sophie Washington book series, and I'm pleased to host another episode of Write This, my author interview show. Today I am welcoming Tee Thior, who is an upcoming children's book author who recently completed a successful Kickstarter campaign for her newest picture book. So she has offered to come on and share tips that help make her successful. So I'm excited to have her on. I've never done a Kickstarter myself, and it's going to be fun to learn about what goes into running a successful Kickstarter campaign. I see that she has already popped on, so let me get her here. And I see a lot of you here. Thank you for tuning in. Let's see. I put accept. Hey, how you doing?
Hi, Tonya. Good. How are you?
Yeah, I'm so happy to have you on, and I'm so happy to see you launching your book. Looks amazing.
Thank you. I know you've been on the journey with me from the beginning when I was just figuring it all out. So yeah, I'm happy that we're making progress.
And I thank you so much. If anybody doesn't know T, she is the founder of the Own Voices Book Challenge author community that she started in the beginning of the pandemic. And that was, I joined Instagram. I had joined shortly before you started the challenge, and it made me feel so welcome
Good.
in the
You are so welcome. You know, I love our community. It's full of diverse authors and diversity in all kinds of ways, racially and faith-based and all kinds of diversities, which I love. And we just come together and support each other. And some are self-published, some are going the traditional route. And I love that we have each other to ask questions and learn about this process, because it's not always crystal clear, you know?
Right, and you really have brought together, I'd say, over 100 authors in
over the course, for sure, because it ran pretty consistently for a couple of years. So over the course of that, so many different authors, and I have so many of y'all's books, which is so amazing. So I'm excited.
And
It feels like it's my turn now.
I can't wait to get your book. And
Yeah.
tell us a little bit about your book and about your journey as an author.
Yeah. So I wrote a children's book. It's called Where Are the Giraffes? It's a really beautiful story with my two sons as the main characters. The story is a journey in the zoo, and my eldest son is just has his heart set on seeing the giraffes, and it's just not quite happening for him. So it's a story of perseverance. It's a story of brotherly love, because there's parts where my baby boy is like, no, I'm gonna help you do this, like, don't give up, I'm gonna help you do it. And I'm not gonna spoil the end, but you know, we see what comes from perseverance and keep going and keeping hope alive. So that's my story. It's a self-published book, beautifully illustrated. It'll be coming out later this year. As Tonya introduced, I ran a Kickstarter campaign as like a pre-order campaign to raise the money for the initial print run. If you aren't familiar with how self-publishing works, there's kind of two ways. It's like you have like Ingram Spark and companies that are printing your book one by one as orders come. And then you have offset bulk printing, which is what I'm doing, where I'm going to pre-order 1,000 copies. And, you know, this campaign helped me raise the money to be able to do that.
Know that my books that are self-published in the Sophie Washington series, they're print on demand where I use Amazon, but my illustrations are black and white. And your book is a picture
in full color. Yeah. So I'm doing a bulk print one. Yes. One, because I want to be able to have a little bit more control on the quality, and to be able to add special elements like a dust jacket, like spot gloss, some of those things that a print on demand company wouldn't be able to offer, that you can customize when you're making a large order.
Now,
Yeah.
back to the beginning. So I'm totally unfamiliar process of
Yeah.
Kickstarter. How it started? What would someone do if they want to fund a self-published project with Kickstarter? How do they start?
I love Kickstarter as a campaign because it really makes backers, or people who are pledging to your campaign, it brings them into the process. Um, for me, my starting point for a long time, I was getting just the information and the education. I feel like there's three things that you need. You need to have some combination of the three: knowledge of how a Kickstarter runs for your particular niche. You need to have a like a network that is willing to back and support what you have, and you need to have like a plan of action. But I spent a good amount of time getting the knowledge. I took a Kickstarter course with Lisa Furlan that I highly recommend. It was like a really beautiful course that just explained kind of the layout of how do you build a community that's invested in the work that you're putting out. And then how do you communicate what you're creating to Kickstarter in a way that a stranger would want to come and support what you have. So whether you take a course or whether you just have conversations with authors or whatever your niche is who've done a successful Kickstarter campaign, I think you have to get some knowledge first. For me, I've made like a bit of a joke that I didn't do what I knew was right for this campaign. But even though I didn't do what I knew was right, I was still going to make sure that it was successful. So there's a lot of effort. There's a lot of sharing what you have, and getting the message to spread beyond. So if you're just getting started, one, clearly write out what it is you're creating. Have pictures as much as you have as many details of what you have so someone can look and know exactly what it is that they're supporting. They know the size of it, the pages of it, what it would look like, your reason behind it, and put all of that in your campaign. Then there's Kickstarter also has rewards. So people don't just give money like a GoFundMe. You can create rewards tiers and you can determine what is in each reward tier. For me, my reward tiers were heavily based on the book itself and like the quantities that you would get, maybe like an author visit, a virtual author visit. But I've seen other campaigns that get a lot more creative as far as creating merchandise, pins, stickers. So you have the freedom to create what you want to pull people into your project. And that's why I love it, because it's more like a pre-order. You're paying money, but then you get something at the end versus just giving me something just because for the sake that you believe in what I'm doing, which can be a harder pull sometimes. And then after that is spreading the message. Once you have your campaign started, then for me, every day my goal was like, who is a new person that I can introduce my campaign to? Who is a new community, like a different Facebook group? And always trying to find groups that I personally had some sort of connection with. So for me, it was like my college groups. I'm a returned Peace Corps volunteer. It was Peace Corps groups. It was my author community. It was friends from work, people that I had. It was other homeschool moms. I homeschooled my boys. So people that I could relate to, for me, made it an easier sell.
Right. You have a significant platform because you have.
I have, you know what? It felt like I could do it. Like that when I go back and say, I know I didn't do everything that I wish I had right before the campaign, I knew I had done the work. You know, maybe it was a year ago, maybe it was 2 years ago, but I knew I had done the work and that there were people who were invested in my project. And there were people whose projects I supported. We are mutually invested in each other's projects. Um, and so if you're just getting started and you don't feel like you have a core invested community, that's where I would suggest anyone to start. And that can be just a matter of posting and getting people familiar with what it is you're creating. It could be joining something like the On Voices Book Challenge, or, you know, whatever your niche is, joining a community around your niche so that you're making friends who are doing the same thing that you're doing. And the people who are viewing that community know what to expect. They're coming there to get more of the type of thing that you're creating. So start there, start to build the community, start to let friends know, family know that you're creating something and exactly what it is you're creating.
Now, what is the time frame from the time the Kickstarter starts? How much, and also how much money did you raise for,
Mm-hmm.
and then how long does it take for you to have to generate the funds?
You can determine. I raised $5,000. My goal was $5,000. I raised a bit more than that. It was around 5,250, something around there. I ran a 2-week campaign. A lot of people run 30-day campaigns, and you can determine the length of time you want your campaign to extend until. But know that every day that your campaign is running, you have to be actively involved in it. So look at your schedule, look at your capacity, and think how much time, how much, do I personally have within myself to dedicate. For me, 2 weeks, someone asked why 2 weeks. For me, I knew I did not have the ability to run a 30-day campaign. And I had the belief that I could do it within 2 weeks. I broke down my number. Initially, I was thinking that my goal would be could I reach 200 people that would be willing to give me $25? Or 250 people, whatever the number breakdown, whether it was 200 or 250, I felt like from all my different communities, I could connect to that many people. And I felt like I could do it within 2 weeks. So that's why 2 weeks for me. It was the amount of time that I had available that I felt like I can really dedicate to like a successful showing up every day, answering comments, reaching out to new people. And I could not see myself doing that for 30 days. The other thing about a campaign is there's like a mid-campaign lull. So a lot of people will donate right at the beginning and right at the end. And in the middle, it super slows down. So if you have a 30-day campaign and you do not have a plan that keeps your campaign new, bright, exciting during those 30 days, you can have a longer lull. For me, my lull was like 3 days because my campaign was so short. Yeah, someone said they broke theirs down 200 by 25. But let me say, go look at my campaign. My campaign, I was expecting the average donor to pledge $25. For me, my average donor backed at like $53. And I really think it's because of the way the rewards tiers were set up. And I did not create the reward tiers. I received the template by looking at other authors and other campaigns. And I found one that was like, I like the way they have their tiers set up. And I use that as a template.
But what is that? So what happened when they gave
you? You know what? I think that second level, the first level was like $20 and that was one book. That second level was like 2 books and acknowledgement. And I think that's what people went for. I was like, you'll get 2 books and you'll be on my website and you'll be listed in the book as like a sponsor, a backer, however we'll word it for the campaign. And I don't know if that tug is what made people choose that tier. But yeah, Mike, the other thing I like about the daily breakdown is it keeps you realistic about where your pacing is. For me, as for a lot of us, we feel like if I'm not 100% funded in day 2 and day 3, I failed. And I was feeling that. Even myself, I was feeling that. Like, oh my gosh, it's day 2 and I only have $800. Am I failing? Is no one interested in my book? But then when I did the daily breakdown, I broke down my $5,000 into the 14 days that I had to run the campaign. I realized I was right on track, because that meant my daily goal broke down to $357. So I was like, oh, instead of thinking I'm failing at day 2 because I'm not fully funded, now I can look at it and be like, oh, I'm so excited because I exceeded the goal I had for day 2. Day 2 said I should have been at 700 and I'm at 800.
If you don't fund, what would happen?
If you don't fund, you get nothing. Kickstarter is all or nothing. If you don't fully fund your project, no one is charged. And then you figure out your next path forward. For if you aren't fully funded, I do not feel like that's a reason for you to quit writing your book and putting your book. That's a sign to pivot and try another path. It might mean investing in yourself. And I've done a lot of investing in my own book. The illustrations, all the editing, everything that it took to create the book was my own personal investment. And I brought the community in for the printing of it, that kind of last leg. So you might want to pivot, but keep going for sure.
Now, what percentage of Kickstarters don't fund? Do we know that, or?
I don't know, but I will say that I have backed over 30 children's books on Kickstarter. I just love it as a platform. And of the 30 or so that I've backed, I think maybe only 2 or 3 didn't get fully funded. But that might speak to the level of education of the people of the books that I'm particularly looking at. So I'm not sure the overall goal, and I don't even think anyone should be concerned. Even if 90% fail, that should not be a concern. Your concern should be, how is mine going to succeed? And if T succeeded, then yours can succeed, and figure out how to make that happen.
Right. Kind of like you're getting a book advance then.
Yeah, that's sort of it. It's sort of a way for self-published authors to kind of get some of that benefit that comes from the traditional publishing world. And I think this is good because it excites us all. It excites me as a creator that I get so many messages from friends and people saying, I love your book. Well, let me tell you guys, I was a celebrity at my son's school. These people, we were like high and by before this campaign. I shared it with my son's school. Every drop off, every pickup, parents were like, are you the one with the book? Are you the one? And it was just so amazing to bring the community into the creation process. And like, I did some really cool rewards. One of my friends, the first reward that sold, my friend put her daughter's names in the book. So there was a line in the story where at the end, he's like, my son is like, I can't wait to go to school on Monday and tell my friends that giraffes are real. And so I was like, you know what? It doesn't have to say class. We can play around with this. So I made a reward where instead of saying class, someone could pledge at that level and it say their child's name. Now my friend has twins, so it'll say her 2 girls' names. So instead of saying my class, it'll say, I can't wait to go back on Monday to tell Shiloh and Selah that giraffes are real, which I think is so cool. I also made a reward where people could name the animals that were in the book. So at the end of the story, there'll be kind of like a highlight of the 6 major animals in the book. And I'll say like a little something, but that animal will have a name that was chosen by the people who backed at that level.
Right. So backers really are a part of
As
the entire.
as much as you want to let them be a part of it, yeah. For me, that's what I love the most about campaigns that I backed. I have books that are autographed to my sons. I have books that may have our name as like a thank you, and my sons light up when they read those books. They want to read the autograph message every time that we read the book because they love that it's personalized.
Right. So that's a great idea for people.
Yeah.
Interesting ways to get people to back their project.
But it makes sense. Think about what makes you excited. Mm-hmm. And what will make you excited will likely make your reader and your supporters excited.
Right. Now, something I thought of as you were speaking too that I love about your book in particular is that you were a member of the Peace Corps.
Yeah.
So, because I remember seeing animals on your website.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, for me, I wanted to write something that's based on our real life experience. When we go back to kind of just the vision about the books, I want books that are centered around joy for Black and brown children, that are centered around just the magic of childhood. I don't want them to have to be some overarching hero that's like saving the planet. I want it to be everyday joys and childhood wonder of like, yes, I'm going to the zoo, because that is like a big thing in my children's life. They're like, whoa, they're still really excited about getting their favorite pizza and putting their favorite snacks in their lunch. And that's what, to me, a child should be focused on. So I want it to be centered around that childhood wonder, and I want to be based on our lived experience. We're all about kind of creating adventure. And adventure for me really began with Peace Corps. It was up and moving to a different country and doing all kinds of stuff. I was whitewater rafting. I was bungee jumping. I was eating all kind of crazy stuff. I was like packing up and going on trips on like a whim. And that was the highlight. That was a highlight of my life. And my goal is that for me, I was in my mid-20s when that was happening. I want my children to discover that now. So they went on their first international trip at 18 months and 3 months. My baby boy was 3 months. So the sense of adventure, the sense of being a global citizen is something that's extremely important in our family. And I would love for other families to be inspired by that, by reading our stories and be like, you know what? I'm going to take my kids here and there. And kind of have that sense of adventure for their families.
Yeah, that's so cool. I love that. If you check out her website, you've got all these pictures of the animals in Africa.
Yeah. I lived in Kenya, and I lived in a small village in Western Kenya. So when I would need to go to the capital for something, the Peace Corps office was in the capital, was in Nairobi. If I needed to go there for doctor's visits or for like conferences or whatever, I would take this really long bus ride that I loved. It was like a 12-hour bus ride, but there would be parts where you would just pass fields of zebra. That was my favorite. Oh, when I got to the fields of the zebra, that was my favorite part of the trip. But you would see all types of antelope and different animals, giraffes. You would see flamingos, all of that stuff. And I feel like it's very much like mother, like son, because that lights me up, and it really lights my kids up too.
Right, that sounds amazing. And so when we get the book, how can we get a copy of it? Say people listening have not backed the campaign, how can
Yeah,
copies? Can
I
we
would.
pre-order?
Yeah, I would say if you are interested in getting a copy and you did not hear about it while the campaign, follow me now because I'm getting this question a lot. So now I'm in the process of creating a second pre-order system. And I'm getting this question every day, so I'm really feeling the pressure to put something out, and I just have to find what is the right path. If it's going to be just pre-orders listed on my website, or if I'm going to do, there's some other crowdfunding processes that are kind of like keep the party going after your Kickstarter sort of thing. So I'm just now looking to see what's the right path forward. But I say follow me because I'm giving myself like a 2-week deadline to figure this out, and then it'll be some other option will be available.
Now, how can they follow you? What is your Instagram?
Follow me on Instagram. It's by Tee Thior. I know it looks like Thior. I get it all the time. My husband is from Francophone West Africa, so Thior is actually Chor. But follow me there, or you can go to buyteethor.com and you can see the website. But that's like the two best ways. I'm also on TikTok at By Teacher, but that's a very new space for me. So not super active on there yet, but you can find me there.
And what else are you working on? Any other book projects?
Yes. So as I told you guys, my books are based on our like lived experience. So I have other books that are in various phases of drafts. The second book that will come out is going to be about that first international trip. That's when we took our boys back to Senegal, where my husband is from, and they met their great grandmother. So it was like the eldest of the family, the matriarch, meeting the newest additions of the family. And there were lots. That book will kind of, the fun through line of that story, yes, will be about family and all that family love, but there's some interesting travel and transportation we had to take to get to my son's great grandmother's small island that she lives on. So we'll tell you about our getting on canoes and riding horse carts and all the things that we had to do to get to her, in addition to just having a beautiful family moment. So that book will come out later. That book I am working on like the final edits. It hasn't been illustrated at all. So we're really talking about later in the year or maybe even next year for that book. But I'm working on it and I'm excited about it.
Yeah, that sounds really fun. I love the idea of all the different methods of travel and also intergenerational.
Yeah. And I'll say this, if anybody is on this live and they are writing children's books and they want to write about their lived experience, let me tell you, here is my process. When we go on a trip, I take tons of pictures. Those pictures I keep in a file as a resource to the illustrator. All the images in the book where the drafts that's coming out was based off of actual pictures that I took from our actual trip, that was then interpreted by the illustrator. I always jot down notes on each of our adventures. So just in my notes app, I will write down anything that was particularly exciting to my children, or like any fun things, like I told you with the book about the great grandmother, all the transfer. I was like, oh my gosh, we got on a taxi, this, that, this. I'm like, what else we about to get on to get to this house? So while you're in the process, jot down little notes. And on like flights back, I always write on the flight back. So I'll take those notes and I'll do my initial my initial draft on that flight home or that long drive home. And then the book develops from there. And I have several books that are kind of in development from things that we've done with our boys.
That's a great idea and a great way to get inspiration and to get ideas down while they're fresh. And
yeah, get it down while it's fresh. For me, I feel like when you're a self-published author, if you go this path, you have to go when the momentum is with you. When you're feeling excited about it, try to do as much as you can. Try to create as much content, write as much, edit your drafts as much as you can, because it's not it's not that high is not consistent sometimes. So once you have it, when you have the momentum, try to do as much as you can. So then when the lows come, you don't feel super far behind.
Right. Great advice. Great. Okay. Well, we did give your contacts and your.
By Tee Thior. Follow me. I would love to talk to you. If anyone has any questions about Kickstarter, my particular campaign, you can send me a DM and I'll be happy to, I'm not all my information is like tight. I'm not that kind of person. I'll share it all. I'll give it all. So if you have questions, let me know. If you want to look at my campaign to design your own rewards tiers, go ahead. If you want to copy it how it is, go ahead. I don't feel no way about none of that. And I just can't wait to see all the books that'll come out from everyone who's watching the live.
Well, thank you for your generosity. Thank you for sharing all this amazing information today. And if you have questions, feel free to DM her at by Tee Thior. I've been calling you Tee Thior.
No, it's okay. Everyone does it. I would not read it and think chore. I understand, so I get it.
Thanks so much. It's got me like, woo, got my mind open about Kickstarters and new. So I'm so happy you took this time.
Yes.
And I want to wish you the best of luck. I can't wait for your book to come out because it sounds amazing.
Thanks, Tonya.
So much for
everybody who tuned in. You guys are awesome, and thank you for the questions.
Yes, they were wonderful questions. Thank you, everybody. And we'll see you next week for another episode of Write This. Bye-bye. Bye.